Hello, hello, hello! Welcome to Advanced Studio Classroom live stream. Today is Monday, February 26th. We're glad to have you with us. I'm Peter. Our host, normal host John, is out today. He's traveling, which is great because our topic that we're going to talk about with you today is traveling. And to help me do that, I've got a seasoned traveler here, David, teacher David. We're glad to have you with us here.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm David from Let's Talk in English. It's good to be here on the advanced live stream.
Right, and David is, I wasn't kidding when I said he was a seasoned traveler. David has traveled, has some German family, right?
Yes, I do.
So you've traveled from Taiwan to Europe, I would imagine, many times.
When we were younger and we still went to school and we had summer breaks, my family would go to Germany almost every year. Yeah, to visit family because we can't see them usually during the weekends. But once a year we would go, but not for a long time. I'd say usually we'd go for 2 to 3 weeks max, because the family lives in like my relatives. They live in a small town. There are no 7-Elevens. There are no like easy access to like milk or eggs. Right. So yeah, even my mom, who is German, gets tired of going back to Germany. So we don't stay too long. I've also been to the States, but we'll talk about that later.
Right. And actually, David has helped us understand one of our vocabulary words that we'll get to in a little bit, so watch out for that. But first, let's start off, of course, with our usual poll, and our poll question today, and I see people are already jumping in to answer it. Good for you guys. Our question is, who do you most often travel with? Now, this isn't necessarily about who you'd like to travel with. That's another question we'll have for you in a moment. But right now, the poll question is, who do you most often travel with when you travel? Is it family? Is it friends? Co-workers, colleagues? Or no one? Solo, as they say. When you travel, is it most often with family, with friends, with co-workers, with no one? So it's not who you're traveling to, it's who you're traveling with. So with that, let's get right into some vocabulary, and I'll just report back on our early results of the poll first. It looks like family is out in front here by a considerable lead in terms of the people you most often travel with. Friends coming in second, and so far we have no one saying that they most often travel with their coworkers or solo by themselves. David, who do you most often travel with?
Well, I have two answers. So, like I introduced myself just now, I travel with my family every time we go to Germany. But now that I'm working here, we have a lot of business trips. And I then would travel with coworkers to a different city for a whole period of time, like a week or two.
Right.
So, I mean, it's also a little fun. So I could consider that travel.
Sure, yeah. And with the kinds of jobs a lot of us have today and the way modern technology and modern transportation enable us to travel a lot, I imagine that a lot of us do travel with coworkers when we travel fairly often. I think for myself, well, certainly before I got married, I would most often travel either with my family or on my own. I didn't travel with friends a lot. I lived in New York City, and traveling was never much of a hobby for me, really. I know it is for some people, but I was happy just to hang around in the city and go do stuff with my friends in the city.
I mean, I guess we have some teachers, and I've heard stories from other friends in the States that they love to do road trips with their friends, maybe like college classmates or roommates. So I'd imagine friends that, there are a percentage of people who like to do that.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. And it's sometimes it would be more fun to go with your friends than your family. But
yes,
the good part for going with your family is your family pays for it. So that's good.
Yeah, and I travel sometimes with friends, always enjoy it, but just for whatever reason, as it turns out, I tend to travel more on my own or now with my wife, so that would be with my family. Oh, and we have B chiming in. Hello, B. Always good to hear from you. Guten Tag, David and Peter. Very good. A little German here on our English live stream. Good. But B, tell us, who do you most often travel with? As long as we have you with us today. While B's thinking about that, and while the rest of you are all thinking about your answers to our poll, let's go to some vocabulary. Now, I'll jump right in here and say that when I said David had hinted at a vocabulary word we have today, let's see if we can jump right down to that one for the moment.
Which one?
Sojourn.
Oh.
Sojourn, S-O-J-O-U-R-N. Or someone who sojourns is a sojourner. And I was thinking of that when David was sharing about how he travels, because what he was describing when he would go and stay with his family for a few weeks in Germany, that is what a sojourn is. And that is what someone who is a sojourner does. They travel to a place and stay there for a while. They don't keep traveling. They will stay there maybe a few weeks, maybe a few months, maybe even a year. But then it's always a sort of temporary place for them to go. It's not their full-time home, and they do eventually move on from that place. A sojourn is like a travel you make to a temporary home for yourself.
Yeah, you don't make it your permanent home. Like a lot of foreigners who come to Taiwan, some of them stay forever.
Yes.
Because they like it here or they get married here. So they're not sojourners.
Yes. In fact, I originally myself came here as a sojourner. My wife, who is Taiwanese, we came here in the summer of 2015, and we thought we were just going to stay for the summer. We didn't really know what was ahead of us at that point, so we thought of this as a sojourn. But then I got a job teaching at a school, and she was doing work online, so she could pretty much live anywhere in the globe in terms of what she does. And so we ended up just staying here for the year, and then another year, and then another year, and now it's pretty much our home. It's no longer a sojourn for us. And B, thank you for replying again. You usually travel with your family. Yep. And in the past, you used to travel with your friends. You used to travel with your friends, not anymore. Oh, I hope there's no falling out there, B, that you'll be able to travel with your friends again sometime soon. Anyway, let's do some more vocabulary here. Go back up to the top of our list, and at the top of our list, we find the word nomad, N-O-M-A-D, nomad. Now, I used to think that meant that I was somebody thought I was angry at something, but I said, no, I was nomad.
No, I'm not
nomad. But I don't think that's what it means.
No, nomad doesn't really have a fixed home.
Right.
They like to travel around. They like to explore different places. When they are tired of one place, they can pick up their stuff and move to a different place really quickly.
Right. In a way, a nomad is someone who only sojourns. They only go to one place, stay there for a while, and then move on to another place, and then move on to another place. Now, someone who does that as a way of life is a nomad. Someone like David, who just does it, from time to time, would be a sojourner. But there is kind of some overlap there. Okay, another vocabulary word we have, a vocabulary term, is travel companion or buddy. Travel buddy, travel companion, you will hear both in usage. They mean basically the same thing. Someone who travels with you.
A lot of time is with friends.
Yes, and that fits in with our poll question. People who travel with friends are traveling with a travel companion or a travel buddy. And that leads into our first discussion question now. So let's look at it. The question is it more fun? Is it more fun to travel alone or with company? Our poll question was, who do you travel with most often, whether you like it or not, kind of. But now, if you had your preference, if you had the way you'd like to do it, is it more fun to travel alone or with company? Let's throw that to David first.
Yes. Well, it depends for me. Especially since I'm kind of an introvert. I feel like, and especially if you're going to some place that you've never been to, it's always good to travel with someone else. And it's especially good if that person likes to organize everything and has everything planned out. You just need to travel along, tag along. But after you've maybe gone to this country a few times, you know all the spots, you know if it's dangerous or not to go into that part of the town. Then it's also fun to go by yourself, because like a lot of things, like going to the movies, it's much more flexible to go alone, even though a lot of people don't like it, but to each his own.
To each his own, right. And yeah, we're just saying what our preferences are here. We're not trying to say this is the right way, this is the wrong way. For myself, is it more fun to travel alone or with company? It kind of depends on where I'm traveling. If I'm traveling somewhere familiar, somewhere I've been before, and I just want a vacation, I want to get away, maybe go to a mountain or go to a mountain in a nearby country, something like that, I might very well go alone, or these days with my wife. But traveling with company, I think that is more fun when it is a new place,
right?
Because just to have more than one mind processing all this information, figuring things out, like you were saying, there's a great practical benefit to traveling with company. Even though you can sometimes get too many chefs, as it were, and let's go do this, let's go do that, or and you have to kind of organize all these different desires and opinions that people have. So there's a balance that you want to find.
But I also find discovering hidden gems and sharing good memories at the spot it is also better. A lot of times, if you go alone and you find something cool, you can you're only able to enjoy it by yourself.
Right, right. Yeah, no, certainly I think you've tapped on something deep there, actually, because I think that we always enjoy something more when we can share it with someone.
Right.
Have you ever been standing watching a beautiful sunset and you have this feeling in you that you can't help but if you're with someone, turn to the person and say, "Isn't that a beautiful sunset?"
Right.
And just telling them that makes you enjoy it more as well than if you were just by yourself. Anyway, just a random thought there. Let's go back to some vocabulary now. Next on our list, we already did sojourn. So pilgrim, letter P here, pilgrim or pilgrimage. Some of us might be most familiar with pilgrim as the people who came over to the United States, to the North America in the 17th century and sort of started the country. But pilgrim here means what?
Well, pilgrims are people who go to a place that's related to their religion.
Right, yes.
Maybe like the holy place for a lot of Muslims and Christians, Catholics. They would maybe go back to Israel to look at some of the ruins, walk around where history happened. Right.
No, he's got it perfectly. A pilgrim, or someone who makes a pilgrimage, is traveling for spiritual purpose, traveling for religious purpose. And so, I couldn't really add anything to that. It's someone who makes a religious sojourn is a pilgrim. That's a way to sort of combine vocabulary there, because it usually is a visit Muslims will visit Mecca in Saudi Arabia, but they won't stay there and live there. They'll just visit it at some point. Or Christians or Jews will visit Israel and places mentioned in the Bible, but they won't stay there usually. They'll just visit there, they'll sojourn there, and that is because their intention was religious. They can call it a pilgrimage, and they are pilgrims in that sense. Okay, here's another travel vocabulary term that I love: bucket list. Bucket list. Some of you might recall a movie called The Bucket List, which introduced the term into general usage. Jack Nicholson, Morgan Freeman. Did you see The Bucket List?
I know of it. I haven't seen the actual movie. I've seen trailers and yeah.
Right, so the bucket list, a bucket list, is a list of things that we want to do before we
hit the bucket.
Kick the bucket. Yeah, kick the bucket, an English folk expression meaning to die. Something to do with hundreds of years ago when they slaughtered pigs. The pigs were near a bucket at the time, and when they were killed, they would be like these sort of death throes of the pig, and it would kick a bucket, and that indicated that it was dying. It's really pretty gross, actually. But that's why kick the bucket means to die, and so a bucket list is things you want to do or see before you die. You had a thought?
No, I don't know why I thought of this, but I thought it was like when you hang someone and you kick the stool underneath, but that's a different thing.
It could have been that. I think kick the bucket had already been established by that time, but yeah, you could have called it, he kicked the stool.
Okay. Anyway.
He's done. Have a stool list. I don't know, it doesn't have the same ring. But yeah, a bucket list. David, what is on your bucket list? What is one thing? Because it's a list, so we don't need everything. But what's one place or experience you'd like to see or have before you kick the bucket?
Probably travel some more. You know, through all my life I've been going to the same places. Like I said, Germany, and I went to school in the States for a few years. So I would like to see a few more places. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think on my bucket list, I'd like to see Italy. Have you been to Italy?
No, I do. Well, yeah, with the crime rate right now,
in
like
Italy?
people stealing stuff. I'm not very fond of going to Italy.
No, we're not saying Italy has a high crime rate.
No.
I think he means generally, right? Or
like, you know, you see like people getting like their passports stolen and stuff like that.
Yeah, you always have to keep your eyes open when you travel pretty much anywhere, except to Taipei, of course.
I've been to the west coast of the States. I would like to go to the east coast.
The east coast,
yeah,
yes.
just go to DC, New York, Maine, like all those places. I want to just...
Oh, you totally should.
Because let's talk in English. We talk about different countries and cities, and a lot of times we talk about the east coast, how beautiful it is.
Yes, yes.
So yeah,
I
would like to
I grew up on the East Coast. I can vouch for that. I'll give you a list of places. I'll give you a bucket list of places to see on the East Coast. But for now, I'm afraid that's all the time we have. We've got to kick the bucket for today and bring things to a close. But again, we're so happy that you've joined us here for our live stream. We'll be back next week with more vocabulary for you, with more discussion for you. John probably be back next week, although you never know. David might be lurking somewhere nearby. Oh, Evangeline, a late question here in which you ask, what is the difference between a bucket list and a pocket list? Now, as far as I know, I personally don't know a phrase called pocket list. I'm thinking a list that you keep in your pocket, basically. But like a bucket list doesn't mean a list in a bucket. It means something else. But pocket list, do you...
Oh, I think she means... In Chinese, we have a phrase called 口袋名单. It's like a list, like a go-to list. Like if you go to Tainan, you have to go to these restaurants, or like if you have to like visit this special place or that place.
I see.
It's like people telling you, oh, these places are great, you should go.
Right. If you're going somewhere, then don't miss this place, this place, this place.
It's a direct translation
Right,
Chinese.
pocket list. That's good, because that's a good thing to have a term for. Thanks for sharing that, Evangeline. And B, just as we're closing, mentions that we're going to Northern Europe is on your bucket list. Scandinavia, Norway,
Yes.
Finland,
I
cold,
would like to go there
the
too.
midnight sun. Oh, we should do a unit on that. Maybe next week, but tune in to find out. Anyway, that's it for now, everyone. Thanks again for joining us. Happy travels.
Bye.